Hello, and welcome to this session as one part of a six-part Main Street, Iowa orientation video series. Other videos in this series include in-depth discussions on each of the Main Street 4 points, in addition to a general presentation covering the Main Street approach. Today's session will go into more detail about the management foundations of local Main Street programs in the context of the Main Street 4-point approach. Our hope with this discussion is that you will become more familiar with the structure, expectations, and resources available to you to support your local Main Street effort. This training will be facilitated by Main Street, Iowa's Downtown Development Specialist, Carol Lilly. Carol is one member of our Main Street, Iowa team, a team that is here to support your local Main Street program with technical support, assistance, and connection to the broader Main Street network here in Iowa and across the country. Carol, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Michael. An executive director's job is to manage the Main Street program. It isn't to be a party planner or to be a fundraiser or someone that's taking notes in a meeting. He or she is an economic development professional running a not-for-profit business, following its mission, vision for using the guidance of the board of directors. So what does that entail? The best place to start to understand the ins and outs of leading a Main Street program is the Main Street Leadership Guidebook. It is the go-to resource for almost everything a Main Street executive director needs to know. It is important that the board members fully understand what is involved in managing the program. The first 18 pages of the Leadership Guidebook contain basics, and the rest of the information included in that guidebook takes a deeper dive into the organizational management. I strongly encourage program leadership to review the guide and to use it as a resource. In quick review, Main Street, Iowa, and each program in our state is part of the greater network called Main Street America. All programs use the same time-proven method of downtown economic revitalization through the Main Street Movement's 4-point approach to economic vitality. Activities in all 4 points, design, promotion, organization, and economic vitality, work together toward a common vision. There are over 50 accredited Main Street programs across the state of Iowa. Community size ranges from 936 in Lansing to over 198,000 people living in the 6th Avenue corridor in Des Moines. A breakdown of programs by population is in the upper right-hand corner of the slide. And as you can see, the programs are closely balanced between population groups. So what does that mean? All of you in program leadership have a network of peers to call upon for ideas and advice. In addition to the Executive Director Network, the staff of the Iowa Downtown Resource Center is here to provide support as well. The Main Street, Iowa culture is supportive and helpful of one another. Whether you need advice, ideas, or just an ear to listen and talk through a situation, the Main Street, Iowa Network is here for you. So, how will you know what's happening within the network and how you fit in? We use a variety of ways to communicate, including email, social media, websites, and videos. But please know you can reach out to Main Street, Iowa staff anytime. Email us, call, text, we're here for you. The first communication tool I want to talk about is FYI MSI. We don't want to send you email after email. So every Monday, you will get an email from Susan Watson. It contains a lot of valuable and important messages. It's divided into sections. There's program documents where the annual calendar, quarterly report updates, and those types of things are found. Program opportunities, which are opportunities that your organization can take advantage of, maybe from some of our partners. There's educational opportunities for you and your board, and of course, funding opportunities as well. The last section is typically a miscellaneous section where we talk about new directors that have joined the network, job opportunities, and those types of things. So what do you do when you get FYI? Well, first of all, make sure you read it. Share it with your board and with your city administrator, your elected officials. Help spread the word about what things are going on within the Main Street network. Main Street Iowa Executive Director page is another tool that we have. It's on Facebook, and it is a closed group for directors only. We encourage you to freely communicate on the page where you're sharing ideas, posting, commenting, ask questions, and celebrate some of your successes too. Occasionally, Main Street Iowa staff will post updates and we will share some information as well. But it is a resource and tool for the executive directors to communicate with each other in real time. The Main Street America website is another good source of information. I recommend you check it out and download their introductory video about the Main Street movement and use that in your presentations. They have a shorter and longer version. Both are really polished and well done, and they make you look good when you're giving a presentation. Membership in Main Street America is a requirement, and each program has a membership number. Sub-memberships under your program are also offered. To make the most of the resources on the website, you will want to ensure you have your sub-membership activated so you can access the members area on the page. And definitely subscribe to The Point. It is a place to pose questions and get feedback from communities across the country. If you Google Main Street Iowa, you will quickly find a link to the Main Street Iowa webpage. It gives a brief overview of the program. Of interest to you are the links and downloads available when you scroll down a bit onto the page. There's a link for StreetGrid, which is our online library of everything you need to know to start or run a Main Street program. There are examples pertaining to board governance and each of the 4 points. It also includes templates that you can fill in with local information to help tell the story of your program's achievements. There's also at the bottom, there's a link to the Main Street Iowa YouTube channel and some training videos that we have as well. So the videos, they're there, but how do you use them? Good program management involves providing opportunities for your volunteers to grow. For example, you may want to show the Design Basics video during a design meeting. Or you could ask a board member or other volunteer to watch a specific video about the program opportunity or something similar and report back to the board or the task force. Also, share this orientation series with all new board members. Set the expectation that they watch them so they gain a better understanding of the Main Street program and of the Main Street movement. Every program in Iowa completes a self-evaluation tool for accreditation. The checklist will be used as part of your community's Main Street America's accreditation visit. The form aligns with the Main Street America's accreditation standards. So going through this self-evaluation will help your board understand the expectations of being an accredited program, and it also adds to the integrity of the designation itself. The results of each individual community's completed self-assessment checklist also help us at Main Street America determine what type of technical services we should be providing. Remember, working toward achieve the benchmarks in the accreditation is something that is ongoing and occurs throughout the year. The Main Street Program Agreement is a contractual relationship between the local Main Street program, the city, and with IEDA and Main Street Iowa. The responsibilities of each of the parties are outlined in the contract. Every 4 years, you will receive a Main Street Program Agreement contract. When you get the contract, don't wait until the last minute to take action. The board of directors must actively choose to continue in the program, and you will need to get a resolution of support into the city council for to get on their agenda for their vote of approval as well. All board members should have a copy of the program agreement and should be given one as part of their orientation. So it doesn't matter how long a program director has been in place. As we all know, learning is a lifelong process, and Main Street Iowa and Main Street America offer ample opportunities for continued professional development. When a new director joins the network, we have an orientation and onboarding process. Now, this process does not take the place of local training. Local training and onboarding is also very important. There's mandatory training for all directors, or for all programs, actually. It's the spring workshop, the Iowa Downtown Conference, and the fall workshop. There must be at least one person from your community that attends from beginning to end of those mandatory trainings. Main Street Now is the National Main Street Conference, and I highly encourage you to budget to attend this conference. It is one of the most informative, motivational experiences you can have as a leader in your local Main Street movement. There's optional training, such as our leadership webinars. We have monthly director calls, Main Street America webinars. There's a plenty of ongoing opportunities for development. Another key responsibility of the Main Street program is to provide economic impact reporting numbers. We call that a quarterly report. Each community should have at least 2 individuals set up and trained in Iowa grants with access to this quarterly reporting feature. The cumulative total report is created based on the information your program provides in this reporting process. And that communication or cumulative total sheet is an awesome tool to help you understand your program. There are 2 types of sheets. One shows all the communities, and then you also will get another one that shows your program over time. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire list of things that are included in the reporting, but one of the most impactful numbers is that the number of volunteer hours. The independent sector is a recognized entity to establish the value of a volunteer hour in each state. The average volunteer hour is valued at $28.09 in Iowa. So what do you do with this data? You provide it in city reports, in grant applications, community presentations. Anytime that you're talking about the program, you can relate it back to the economic impact you are having in the community. And from personal experience, I know that volunteer hour value is something that city leadership was always very interested in, because they wanted to know how involved the community was in the downtown. The Main Street program is led by a board of directors. The executive director reports to the board, and any supporting staff reports to the executive director, not to the board. Committees and task forces implement the work of the 4 points, and the board approves plans of those committees to ensure that projects and activities align with the strategic direction of the program. One of the most important things to remember is to create a culture of we, not I. The program belongs to the community. As far as program structure, the officers make up the executive team of the board. The primary tasks of the president is to plan and run the board meeting and to supervise the executive director. The vice president steps into the president's role when the president is away and usually takes over as president at the end of the term. The vice president is a really good candidate for special projects such as the annual fundraising campaign. The treasurer helps with financial transactions, reports, budgeting, and all things money related. The secretary takes minutes and keeps the historical records of the program. So what about you? As a leader in the Main Street program, what can you do to facilitate a neighborhood ripe for economic development? Well, you can inspire to work towards a common vision. So creating that viewpoint of what's next and what we're trying to strive for. It's building relationships with stakeholders, property owners, business owners, and residents. It's conducting market research and then sharing and using that data to help drive the program and the initiatives that you undertake. It's supporting small business retention and recruitment efforts. Remember, every business needs employees, so that workforce development is another important aspect of a leader in the Main Street movement. And of course, providing a diverse mix of development opportunities between commercial and residential and the types of businesses that the community wants to have in town. And lastly, I want to encourage you to be welcoming and available to all aspects of the population within your community. The board and the executive director have similar roles and responsibilities, but they're just carried out in a little different way from day to day. But if you're interested in a deeper dive, one of the technical services that we provide is a roles and responsibilities training. But at this point, I'm going to have a higher level day-to-day type of discussion. So from a staff perspective, building relationships is that person-to-person relationship building. It's answering emails. It's returning phone calls in a timely manner. It's spending time on the streets. We really expect about 20% of a director's time to be out on the sidewalks, meeting and working with businesses. And most importantly, it's listening to the stakeholders within your community so you understand what their needs are so you can become a resource. We'll talk about that in a minute. It's also building partnerships. That's that entity to entity. It's the Main Street program's relationship with another organization within your community. Remember, it's not about you personally, it's about the program. It's mutually beneficial relationships for partnering groups. You may need to get involved with the community to understand what some of those partners may be. And just keep in mind also that the Main Street program doesn't have to do everything downtown. They just need to be partnering with others to support the work of downtown. Volunteer management is a huge part of day-to-day staff responsibilities. But it is empowering the volunteers to take ownership in their work. It's holding or helping hold the board and volunteers accountable to take their actions and to follow through on the things that they've said that they would do. It's also being patient with volunteers. Sometimes things do pop up and things take a little bit longer. So it's being available to them to make sure that you are really helpful in that volunteer management side of things. Again, this is back where it's we, not I. It's tracking the finances and the budget. To do that, you need to be checking the mail. You need to see when those bills are coming in. You need to make sure that you're getting that information to the treasurer. It's maintaining that cash flow, tracking the income sources. But really, it comes down to the bottom line. It is using that written and approved board budget that has been established through your board process. Talked a little bit about resources and becoming a resource for the community. I want to also think about the resources that you have as a program. So the program owns things, so you need to track and know where the things that you belong are. You need to manage what's in storage. You need to know where the items are stored. And it also is making sure that you have the technology that you need to effectively do your job. So that's all part of the resources side of things. From a board perspective, that day-to-day work is a little bit different, but you're constantly talking about the problem. You're wearing your Main Street hat when you're out in the community. It's not just being part of Main Street when you're in board meetings. It's bringing information that you hear back to the board so you can have meaningful discussions and you can be able to lead the program in the right direction. It's also being a voice for the group that you represent on the board. So each of you are on the board for a role that you play, and you need to make sure that you're maintaining active communication in and outside of the boardroom so you can be that voice. It's fundraising. The board is responsible for funding the program, not the executive director. The board, I'm going to say that again, the board is responsible for fundraising for the organization. And lastly, you need to make sure you're participating in the activities. Come to the board members prepared. Read the board packets. Do your homework. Attend events and activities that the program is putting on. Go to city council meetings. Wear your Main Street volunteer hat when you attend. And it's being a part of committee conversations and actions. Every program has their own set of guiding documents, and I'm not going to go into all of these, but I'm going to touch base on a few. The first is the mission statement. It is a powerful tool to help you keep the program on track. Program leaders get pulled in many, many directions. So when you're faced with a decision, it's a really good rule of thumb to ask, does this activity fit our mission? I like to think of the vision statement as a document that answers, what do I want to be when I grow up? It changes over time, and so a downtown evolves and changes over time too. So you need to be keeping track of what do we want downtown to be next. Bylaws are the next piece. That's a legal document guiding the program's actions. Find them, read them, and have them handy during board meetings. The letter of commitment should be signed by each board member at the beginning of the fiscal year. Signing the document should be done with thought. If a board member can't follow through with the items on the commitment form, it is okay. They can participate at the committee level or task force level, but leave that board position open for someone who has the time necessary to be a good active board member. So again, put some thought and make sure your board members are putting some thought in before they just automatically sign that document. The strategic plan is a long-range goal for the program and for the downtown, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how that transformational strategies and strategic plan in a little bit. We're also going to talk about annual planning and action plans in the next few slides here. So let's talk about that transformational strategy side of things. So this is an example from StreetGrid. It is a combination, which transformational strategies are a combination of internal and external strategies that are important to work for the continued revitalization for success. Internal strategies involved building a strong Main Street program. But to advance the district, the Main Street program needs to collect community data, input, focus surveys, group discussions, those types of things. But then you also need to utilize that data to inform the strategies for your program. So that's that external side of things. The external transformational strategy must be district specific and target either a product, consumer, or service-based type of market. In this example, this program will actively be working to create an event calendar that supports the program's mission. Each of the 4 committees or task forces will play a role in planning and executing a comprehensive event calendar. In this example, the strategy will include that comprehensive annual calendar of events, like I mentioned. The ideal calendar is developed 12 to 18 months in advance. And I want you to pause for a minute and not equate the event calendar with purely promotional activities. When we're talking about an event calendar, those events can include things like lunch and learns, your annual meeting, volunteer appreciation events, workshops for caring for historic buildings. An event calendar touches on all the activities to support the 4 points. It also includes that well-balanced promotional calendar, which is retail, special events, and ongoing image campaigns. But even in our digital world, sometimes a visual calendar posted in the boardroom will help maintain balance for all committees. Make sure that you consider your research and resource availability before adding anything new to that event calendar. Make sure you have the capacity to complete what you want to do. So work plans, and this is an example of a work plan, it aligns with the strategy, and there should be a work plan or an action plan for each action that the program undertakes. More details on it makes it easier to use the next time around, either for you or for someone else. Detailed action plans should include budget numbers, the person assigned to the task, and notes related to any contact information or anything that you want to carry forward and remember for the next time. We used to jokingly say, if I win the lottery tomorrow, I'm done, I'm out of here. So these type of plans make it an option for anyone to be able to step right in and take over if something happens and the leader can't continue on with that project. In this example, plan of action items are listed for the year at the top of each column. It's by committee or task force, you might call it, whichever term you use. But as things are accomplished, they move down to the done section. You'll see it's color-coded by committee or activity, so you can kind of really track how things are going. It helps maintain focus throughout the year. So you're working on things that you said you were going to be working on. It's also a visual where volunteers can easily see what they've accomplished and what is left to be done. And it shows the scope of the program to really avoid committees from getting into silo type activities. And also to note, every time you move that an item from the focused to the done or the completed or task column, it's an opportunity to share a story and celebrate an accomplishment that your program has done. So we have covered a lot of information today. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact either Michael Wegler or myself with them. But before I close, I want to leave with one final thought. As a leader in the Main Street Network, there will be highs and lows. The people you meet and the relationships you build with your local network and with the Main Street Iowa network will become part of your community's Main Street story and also your personal story. Embrace that story, enjoy the ride, and welcome to the Main Street Network.